Now to Serbia, where student-led demonstrations show no sign of letting up 3 months after 15 people were killed when a train station canopy collapsed in the country's second-largest city. Students blame government corruption and incompetence for the disaster in Novi Sad and have taken their protests nationwide. The main target of their anger is President Aleksandar Vucic, who's facing the biggest test of his 12-year rule.
Student-led protesters blocked bridges across the Danube River in the Serbian city of Novi Sad. Ever since the train station collapse shook the country, Serbia has been at an almost complete standstill. Protesters say the government has blood on its hands. And this has become the symbol of the movement. Students are now demanding justice and accountability.
We want justice to be back in fashion. Those we lost in this tragedy, as well as 2 people who are still in the hospital, deserve it.
Many are pointing the finger at this man, Serbia's President Aleksandar Vucic. He is supposed to play a largely ceremonial role. But the populist leader has been accused of violating that political principle. People in Serbia say he essentially controls all branches of the government. Many in the country accuse his Serbian Progressive Party of widespread corruption and shady government projects that they say led to the tragedy in Novi Sad. Vucic initially claimed foreign powers were trying to stage a coup, but has since backed away from such claims.
It's important that we establish a dialogue with professors and other representatives of the universities as soon as possible. No one should avoid their responsibilities. Talking together is the solution.
The students have rejected the offer of dialogue, stating that Vucic is not in charge of meeting their demands and calling for the institutions in Serbia to do their job.
Everything that we're doing, showing such unity, is to tell them we will not remain silent.
The end goal for us is a country where laws and our constitution are respected. I demand justice, that's all.
So far, students have shown unity and have staged large-scale protests, including an 80-kilometer march from Serbia's capital Belgrade to Novi Sad, which saw students sleeping in tents along the way in the freezing cold. During blockades in different cities, they were playing sports and camping in order to show that the protests are peaceful.
I am sure that Gen Z will bring changes to this society because I believe in young people and I believe they are here purely out of compassion.
Experts believe the protests, which they say are largest in Serbia in decades, now present the biggest threat to the President Vucic's 12-year rule. Vucic has said new elections could be held soon. But students and those who support them insist justice for victims comes first.
Well, Dusan Spasojevic is a professor of political sociology at the Faculty of Political Sciences in Belgrade. Welcome to DW, Professor. Those pictures are impressive. Why is it that students are leading what have been described as Serbia's largest ever demonstrations?
Well, good evening to you and your viewers. It began as a sort of an accident because students were part of the initial protest, 15 minutes of commemoration, of silence. And then at the New Belgrade, a group of students have been attacked by the local members of the Serbian Progressive Party, of the ruling party. And that is how the first blockade at the Faculty of Dramatic Arts began. And then it spread out through all 4 or 5 universities in Serbia, and they gained initial support from high school students and professors, and that's how it basically started.
Okay, and how have they managed to organize such massive protests so well and so peacefully?
Yeah, well, I mean, students in Serbia have a long tradition of protests. It started in the 90s during the Milosevic. In these days, they are organized in the way of direct democracy through plenary sessions. and which kind of increase participation and equality among them and solidarity. But they also been supported by academic community, but also by other communities in society. For example, my faculty of political sciences, is not in the center of Belgrade, and we have community of companies, of neighbors, of retired people who are supporting students for the last 3 months, bringing us or them food, clothes, whatever they need. So it's it is a student movement, but it goes well beyond and above universities itself.
And we heard them in the report saying they want justice. What does that look like? It looks like young people wanting to overturn the current system.
Well, that's one of the problems, because the student demands, if they are fulfilled, current government has to go down, but perhaps not only the government, but the system itself, because system designed by Aleksandar Vucic has been run by one thing, and that is lack of accountability. For last 13 years, there is no single member of government who has been arrested, indicted, or are forced to resign. So literally there is no accountability. And the tragedy that happened in Novi Sad was one of the tragic outcomes of current government. And I think this is the point in time where we had to say enough is enough. And that is what students are doing at the moment.
But here's the thing, right? So we have 15 people killed in a train station when this train station canopy collapsed. The people are blaming corruption in a system which meant that the design and the materials used were substandard. No arrests, demonstrators beaten up, thousands, hundreds of thousands of students taking to the streets. But the institutions stand by and say, well, and say what? Because we saw the president there saying, well, let's talk, which on the face of it sounds reasonable.
It sounds reasonable, but president does not have any authority to fulfill students' demands. So we want prosecution to act. We want Serbian media to cover the protests. We want people who are in the government to resign. I mean, what people would do in, let's say, a normal, minimal level democracy. So there are no reaction from the government. And from the beginning, government starts with lies. For example, the day after the tragedy, Serbian president said that the roof, the canopy that fell down was not reconstructed at all. And that was an initial lie that actually triggered the initial protest, because everyone who used the train, and I was one of them, everyone knew that every part of the station has been reconstructed.
Okay, let me just interrupt you there, because time is short, and I want to get this last question in. Do these protests pose any real threat to President Vucic?
I mean, these are the first and most serious challenge to his government. And I think any outcome of this crisis is possible, even him being down for resigning as a president. So this is the extremely serious crisis. Our government, our prime minister has resigned, and anything is possible. I mean, there's 100,000 people on the street every day, every single day. And this reminds us probably to October of 2000 when Milosevic was ousted.
OK, thank you so much, Professor. Professor Dusan Spasojevic from the Faculty of Political Sciences in Belgrade. Thank you.
Well, I'm joined now by Ana Djurovic. She is a student from the Faculty of Dramatic Arts at the University of Belgrade. Ana, it's good to have you with us. I understand you have been involved in these student protests. It's a big deal to get one organized. It's something different altogether to keep the momentum of these large-scale protests going. How have students been able to do that?
Yes, hi. First of all, I think that the fact that we self-organized through the principles of direct democracy and through plenary sessions plays a huge role here. So this movement has no leaders. when a faculty comes up with a proposal for a protest, if the majority of the faculty says yes, then we organize meetings. We are organized through work groups that deal with strategies, public actions, media, donations, and so on. So it's a huge system, and each student is encouraged to participate as much as he or she can.
Anna, let me ask you, what do you think about the growing calls for President Vucic to step down?
That's in our demands. We ask for the institutions to do their jobs. If that requires the fall of the government, then so be it. But that's not what we asked for, and we'll remain protesting, and our faculties will remain blocked until our demands are met. We want to make sure that. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, the president, he has said that he wants a dialogue. You reject that. So what will happen if your demands are not met?
First of all, it's not his job to meet our demands. We address the institutions. We also believe that we believe it's not up to him to meet our demands, and there's no need for the negotiations. But he
would send a strong signal, though, wouldn't he, to those institutions?
It's not. We believe that it's not fair for any student to be put under that sort of pressure, because our demands are really clear and straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that this protest will result in justice for the disaster and reforms against corruption? I know that you've been seeking that.
We hope so, and we fight for that, and we believe that it will, because all other members of the society are joining us. We have farmers joining us, lawyers, teachers, professors, high school students, even a public transit company has joined. So with its own demands. So I think that it must lead to changes.
And if it doesn't, how far are you willing to go? I mean, how much momentum is there left in this movement?
We have a lot of energy. I mean, students have a lot of energy and willpower, because we are encouraged by our professors and by our deans. So the faculties will remain blocked until our demands are met.
Okay. Serbian student Ana Djurovic from the Faculty of Dramatic Arts in Belgrade. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us about these anti-corruption protests. Thank you.
Thank you.